Hi everyone and welcome back to Canada Top to Bottom. In today's short video, we're going to give you the lowdown on provincial nominee programs, as this really is your only option if you are looking to move to Canada in the near future. If you're thinking of immigrating to Canada and are considering your options of how to get there, you may be aware that things in this department have slowed down somewhat over the past few years. In fact, slowed down is something of an understatement, as now, in February 2022, it has been well over a year since any federal skilled workers were drawn from the express entry pool, whereas pre-COVID these draws were generally conducted every 2 weeks.
Staff shortages and an inability to work during the pandemic, plus an ever-increasing number of applicants, has led to a backlog of over, wait for it, 1.8 million immigration and temporary residence applications waiting to be processed. This has understandably been an enormous source of frustration and anger for many thousands of people, including us, around the world who have been waiting to make their Canadian dream come true. A recent memo from the Immigration and Refugee Council of Canada suggested that there would most likely be no draws for the first half of 2022 until the backlog has been cleared, and after that, they hinted that once draws resume, they may be focused on specific occupations rather than simply continuing to select people with the highest points, as was the case in the past.
But it's not all doom and gloom. There is still a way to move to Canada in 2022, and that's what we're going to focus on today. We're talking about PNPs, or Provincial Nomination Programs. The reason this is such an important thing to know about is because throughout the pandemic, when pretty much everything ground to a halt and no express entry draws were happening, the IRCC have continued to allow PNP draws to take place. For many months, Canadian experience class applicants were still being drawn, as the majority of these applicants were in Canada and therefore not hindered by the travel restrictions, but even these have now stopped, because the backlog is now so enormous. The reason PNP draws are still going ahead is because provinces still need to meet their provincial immigration targets.
We do have a playlist of all the individual provinces and their provincial programs, so check them out if you have a particular province in mind, or even if you don't. We have gone through each province in detail and talked through exactly what they're looking for and the exact requirements for each program, so you can see whether your skills and experience fit the bill for any of Canada's provinces.
So today we're not going to talk through the details of each province. Instead, we will talk about exactly what a provincial nomination is and why it's such a good way of moving to Canada in 2022. There is, of course, still the option of coming to Canada as a student or on a work permit, but these are not pathways to permanent residency in Canada. They are both temporary residence options. They're a first step to applying for permanent residence in the future, but this process can take several years. So if you are looking to immigrate and gain permanent residence in Canada, a provincial nomination is your only option right now.
Understandably, since the memo which suggested that draws would not be resuming for quite some time, a lot of people are now looking for ways to get a provincial nomination and are wondering what a PNP is. Now, it is admittedly rather a confusing process, so hopefully we're going to make things a little clearer for you.
So what is a provincial nominee program? They are programs for foreign workers who want to become permanent residents of Canada and who have the skills, education and work experience to contribute to the economy of a specific province or territory. In short, each Canadian province and territory, except Nunavut and Quebec, has a specific immigration program targeting foreign workers who have experience in areas which are in high demand in that province. Every province is different and has different in-demand occupations, and therefore they have different programs available. For example, some provinces may target students or business people, IT workers, doctors, teachers, skilled workers, caregivers, managers, or even semi-skilled workers.
How you apply to these programs depends on the province. Some you apply to directly through the province's own application portal, and others are linked to the federal application process. And here is the most important thing to consider. Some PNPs are linked to the federal express entry process and others are not. If you are applying for a PNP, you should make sure you know whether it's linked to express entry or not, particularly in 2022.
The main reason is that for those PNPs which are linked to Express Entry, you of course first need an Express Entry profile, which means your chances of success are based on the number of CRS points you have. A nomination from a province will provide you with an additional 600 CRS points, which would guarantee that you were selected in the next provincial nominee draw. However, it is commonly believed that any nomination from a province provides you with these 600 extra points, but this is not true. If the programme that you are applying for is not linked to Express Entry, you do not gain these extra 600 points. Instead, you are issued a nomination certificate by the province, which you use to apply for permanent residence directly through the province's portal. This means that if you have an active Express Entry profile, you won't have these extra 600 points and you will unlikely be selected in the next draw.
The next thing to note is that the processing times for these different types of applications are varied. An Express Entry linked provincial nomination has a processing time of approximately 6 months, whereas a PNP which is not linked to Express Entry currently has a processing time of between 15 and 25 months, depending on whether you've already applied. So as you can see, it can take up to 4 times as long to process an application which is directly with the province and not with Express Entry. For some people, this might not be an issue, but problems may occur if, for example, your provincial nomination is dependent on a job offer. If you've received a job offer from a province and your application takes 2 years to process, it's highly unlikely that the employer will hold your position for that long.
The other great thing about provincial nominee programs is that they are generally much easier to get into than any of the Express Entry programs. Yes, many of them do require a job offer, but there are several programs which don't require a job offer. Check out our video on how to get a provincial nomination without a job offer. But in general, they require a much lower language level and often much lower educational requirements.
So that's it for today. We've put the links for all the provincial nominee programs in the description box below, so check them out to see if your skills and experience are in demand in any of the provinces. If you've got any questions, let us know in the comments, and of course click subscribe for new videos about Canada every Sunday and Wednesday, and stay positive with your journey to Canada.